All right, how's that? Is the sound working now? Thumbs up,
Yes.
hearts.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you all. Okay. All right. Just going to do a little bit of a smudge before we start. Got my sage. Oops, now I can hear myself over here. All right, so if you're watching live, please jump in the chat box. Let me know where you're coming to us from. I suspect we've got people from around the globe, which is super exciting. One of the things I love about this book and being involved with this book is the collaboration is a global one. And because we did make it to international best-selling book, this book has an opportunity to reach many people all around the world with inspiration and lots of amazing stories of triumph over adversity. And who doesn't need a little bit of inspiration these days? It's really rough out there at the moment. When I start doing any kind of a presentation, whether it's something like this to a larger group of people or within my own closed groups where I do a lot of coaching and counseling, I always start with a little ritual. I have my smudge, I cleanse my field using a sacred spiral of golden light. I play a little bit of bowl, which we're going to do in a second. Because even though I'm seasoned at presenting, I still got those little flutters, you know, those nervous-citement, we call it our house, nervous-citement. Nervous and excitement simultaneously. Okay, I'm going to be letting people in to the waiting room, from the waiting room. So please bear with me as I just let people in. There's going to be people streaming in over the next minute or two. All right, let's go with the ball. So if you're watching live, just let me know, where are you from? I can see the comments. So I'd love to know, where are you in the world? Okay. Oh, sensory warning. I'm about to hit a bowl. So if you've got headphones on, just maybe lower the sound for a second until you can adjust. I'm using the F note, which is for the heart chakra. What you can do is actually start to tune in to the note, the vibration, wherever you are in the world, it will still reach you. And really feel that wave starting to enter your cells, reaching your heart, allowing your heart to begin to vibrate with the same frequency, drawing the waveforms into your deep, deep cellular structure. Allowing the note to find you in a space of peace. All right. So nice. Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to start over. So my name is Christy Lee Rackham. I'm one of the co-authors of Warriors of Light. I thought I'd start real quick with a little bit of an introduction to me, because many of you probably are new to me and my work. So who have we got? We've got Kim's in Missouri, USA, Sarah, Sunshine Coast, Michelle, Mary Valley, Caitlin, I'm not sure where you are. I've got Kirsty, Fee is up in Townsville, Heather is on the Sunshine Coast. How exciting! How exciting! One of the beautiful things about group work is that we blend our energies. That's why I like to start with the bowl, because it just brings us all into attunement with each other in the same bandwidth of energy. All right, so welcome to my Summit Masterclass. This little talk workshop is called Soothing the Struggles and Activating the Extrasensory Superpowers of Highly Sensitive People. I'm guessing, hands up, who classes themselves as an extrasensory person? Just give me a little thumbs up and likes if that's you. Let's get a gist. Some of you may actually have children who are highly sensitive, and you're on here because you're curious about how you can help your children. So I actually work with families who are extrasensory, who have extra needs, and who are, I guess, what you would call a little bit different to typical. So just to give you an idea, I've been working in the field of health and healing for around 30 years. I began teaching meditations when I was 18, although at 8 I was already hyper aware of extrasensory things in my environment, so I could always see and hear and feel many things that everybody told me weren't there. So that's where it sort of began for me, this quest of discovery of who I was, what I was capable of. And at 18, I had a spontaneous awakening to a group of galactic beings called the Galactic Council of 12. And I've been corresponding and sitting with them since then. They would come and sit with me in a meditation space and teach me how to weave sound and light, and to read the energies of the people in my group and be able to filter in the exact right frequencies to match and counterbalance or cancel out the negative, dense, low frequency patterns of destruction and death, if you like, in a person, and feed in a cancelling frequency that would allow them to bring in more light, more healing, more well-being into their cells. Got quite a few people sticking up their hands, thumbs and likes about being too sensitive. Too sensitive? We're going to discover that as we go. So I'm a multimodality, multi-dimensional practitioner. I don't just work here in the earth plane. I seem to bridge multi-dimensional spaces, and I have a talent for pulling energetic patterns of high frequency nature into my body and then translate through to other people. So I was trained as a nurse. I've been trained in massage therapy, in counseling, in Reiki, in healing touch, in music. I'm actually a musician as well. I play cello, I played piano when I was young, and I'm now learning the harp to add to my sound therapies, my sound healings. I've been trained in sclerology, mindfulness, NLP, and on and on and on. I've been doing this for a long time now, so I've got quite a collection of earthly qualifications, shall we say. So I'm also an avid researcher, and I came to my work through illness, through dysfunction, through disability, through a lot of pain and suffering and trauma, and I have had the breadth and depth of experience in that to be able to come to a place of harmony within myself and to help others now do that as well. So I love researching, actually. I research the crossover between sound, science, and spirituality. In a nutshell, my genius is frequency. Anything frequency is what I'm about. Strangely, I've always been involved with frequency, but it's only been the last maybe 5 years that I've really narrowed my focus to this particular bandwidth of understanding. So I love to research also the connection between illness and neurology, and energy. So I bridge the body, the mind, and the soul in that way through my practices. I'm a bioharmonic energy healer, which is a technique that I've developed myself. I'm also the innovator of therapeutic applied percussion, which is a brand new modality which falls under the category of tapping. And there's an extended version of that called Intuitive Transformation Technique, which is a regression type practice where we take you on a journey into multidimensional spaces in order to heal root origins or original events that have caused a cascade of difficulties in your reality. I created the Energy Mastery mentoring program, the MeMap, which is a nursing model, actually, a holistic model for holistic lifestyle sustainability. And it's actually based on sacred geometry. So it gives you a snapshot of your current energy, what you're about right now, where are you having difficulties, and what do you need to uncover in order to move forward with more ease and grace. I am a business mentor for nurses and allied health practitioners who want to understand, want to have knowledge of energy literacy. This is a term that I coined to explain, we're all literate in English and maths and all these other things, but very few people have literacy around their own energetic practices and their ability to weave and wonder about energy. So I teach allied health and nurses in therapeutic applied percussion, which embraces all of that, the modality, and I also mentor them in transitioning from a classic allopathic, medical system into a more holistic system where they can incorporate lots of these extra sensory abilities. All right, so that's me, just to give you a snapshot. But you're here because of you. You're not necessarily here for me. You're here to find out more about you, which I really, really love. Because the more people who find out about themselves and start to uncover and, deconstruct the limiting beliefs, the patterns, the perceptions that they've been bought, borrowed, or stolen from the people around them, the environments they've grown up in, the more of us who can find out about us. How do we tick? How do our families tick? We start to expand our consciousness. We start to develop heightened awareness. And with that awareness, we start to be able to be more compassionate, more loving, more whole, more functioning than ever before. All right, sorry, my little live thingy's gone down. 1 second while I find that again, because I want to be able to talk to the people who are also... Hi, Craig. Hi, Kylie. There we go. I want to talk to everybody. I've got Zoom people. I've got Facebook people. Just a little bit of background. I worked in television for a long time, so technology is not strange for me. I actually really love it. I remember a time when, this is coming back to frequency really early in my understanding. I always had the headset on. I was always listening. I was always hyper attuned to the celebrities that I was working with so that I could feel what they were needing from me at that time, right? So even at a very early age in my 20s, I was utilizing some of my extrasensory capacities to in a very non-spiritual way within the television industry. I worked with people like John Cleese and Mariah Carey and Lou Reed in the entertainment industry, which was cool, really cool. Tell you a little story about John Cleese later, but not to get distracted. All right, so what is a highly sensitive person? Let's look at this. What is a highly sensitive person? Who knows? What do you think that is? You're welcome to interact with me. So please pop into the chat either on Facebook or Zoom. What is it? What do you think it is? Let's talk about it a bit. And then I'll give you some science, okay? I'm going to fuse all the things today. You'll get a little bit of science, a little bit of spirituality, a little bit of the sound. We'll just kind of wrap it all up that way. So what I have discovered is that highly sensitive people are not as rare as we used to think they are. Okay? Hi, Tash. Highly sensitive people, what we now know is that they make up around 35%. That's just over a third of the population, according to some new meta studies that have come out in the last 5 to 7 years. Prior to that, they thought that the estimate was around 20% of the population are classified as highly sensitive. There is an actual scale to find out if you are a highly sensitive person. It's a known thing. This isn't a spiritual woo-woo, thing that somebody just decided one day to make up. It's real. You are really hypersensitive or highly sensitive. So Courtney says maybe somebody who seems to have a heightened sense of touch, taste, sound, etc. Yes. Someone who gets anxious, says Henriette. We've got Athena says feeling people's emotions very deeply. Absolutely. That's definitely been my journey. So one of the fascinating things about the science is that it's much greater, the percentage, than we originally thought. A highly sensitive person actually has different wiring. We have changes in our neurological systems. The way that our body functions is fundamentally different in both structure and chemistry. Your brain is different, okay? Which is really cool. So, some of the differences I'm going to touch on really, really briefly, okay? Firstly, things called mirror neurons, which is your ability to reflect on what you are receiving, are highly active in a highly sensitive person. We literally reflect backwards and forwards our environment at a much higher level, which means that you can empathize more brilliantly, right? We also have a changed serotonin transporter system. I'm not going to go into all of that, but suffice to say, the gene that controls serotonin is lower in highly sensitive people, meaning serotonin doesn't stay in your system and it doesn't get transported as easily as a typical person. And serotonin regulates mood, which means that if you've got less serotonin running around in your system, your chemical cascade, if you've got less of that, guess what? Destabilized emotions, more anxiety, more depression, more extreme expressions of emotion. Interesting, huh? There's also this thing called the Ventromedial Prefrontal Cortex. There we go, spat it out right that time. Or the PFC. This equals heightened emotional response as well. It works in concert with the serotonin. What science is also thinking at the moment is that we also have a less of a need for dopamine, all right, which is interesting because dopamine is that little hit you get every time you hear the ding on your phone. It's also what you get if you're in crowds of people or exciting environments. If you don't really have a propensity or a desire, or your brain chemistry isn't really responding to dopamine, you might not feel good in those kinds of spaces where there's lots of activity, lots of movement, lots of sound, light, etc., etc. It's too stimulating. And you don't need it. It's not something that fires you up and makes you feel good. It's something that drags you down, right? It's why a lot of people struggle with social media. I hate social media. And yet, here we are. So I'm also grateful for social media because it allows us to connect. Until we're consciously capable and energetically literate enough to weave and communicate through energy with others around the globe, we kind of need the internet. I happen to be good at communicating with other people around the globe without the internet. I do phone readings, I do phone consultations. I don't need to see, hear and feel you to be able to help you because I have an extremely developed sensory profile across all of the senses. I was born this way. And at a very early age, I cracked awake to it. So I started developing this on a conscious level very, very early in life. And I've systematically, given the science, right, I've systematically educated myself on each one of my senses on purpose. So I started out being visual. And then I honed that so well that I could not only see people auras, etc., but I could see inside people. So I could see dysfunctional cells. I could see bone structures that weren't right. I could see cancer. I could see somebody, this was a really funny day. I could see somebody who had been a pot user for a really long time, not because they smelt different, although I could sense it that way as well, but because I could see the congestion in their energy field. So then I went on to develop my sense of smell. And in nursing, quick little story, in nursing, when I was studying, oh my goodness, I'd go into a room and somebody would have what they call a necrotic wound, which is a really disgusting wound which is basically eating itself away. The cells are dying. It's black, it stinks, right? But you would have to send a swab of the wound substance away. Sorry if I'm grossing you out, people. Send this away to pathology to find out what bugs were growing in it, okay? But I would walk into a room as a student nurse with my supervisor, and I would go, "Ooh, that's XYZ bacteria," and they'd be like, "What? You can't possibly know that. We haven't got the path results yet." Or they'd say, "Oh, did you get the pathology back?" And I'm like, "No, I can smell it. I can smell it." So my nursing was a great opportunity to hone my sense of smell. More recently, in the last decade, I've always been into music, but sound has been a thing for me. But more recently, after I had my children, I developed hypersensitive auditory awareness. The stress of having babies, the hormonal profile changed. And all of a sudden, every tiny little sound was blowing my mind, literally. It hurt. And so then I had to come to a place of understanding sound more deeply than I ever had as a teenager as I was practicing music, cello. So we're wired differently. This is why. So hands up. What kinds of sensory things do you find really difficult? What is your biggest kryptonite when it comes to sensory situations? What is it that really throws you off? Tell me in the chat. So while you're doing that, what I want to let you know is that even though we're wired differently, what they do know about highly sensitive people is that, and the medics don't tell you this, and so I'll talk about that in a minute, but what we know is that a highly sensitive person is not pathological. You are not disabled. You are diff-abled. You are different. But not so different these days. And I'll get into that why in a minute. So what they believe about the highly sensitive person is that we have evolved. We are an evolutionary result that has been born this way to assist with survival. Our heightened senses allow us to detect things that normal people cannot detect. And this is an amazing, amazing skill. However, it can be our kryptonite when we're not mastered at it. We're not literate yet at what our energy is doing. So we're better equipped for survival, particularly in this age. Okay? So let me check. What have you all said here? Non-stop talking. Kim's highly empathic, so you're feeling, Kim. You're a feeling person. Henrietta, talking, I imagine, is sound. Athena is noise, intense emotions, overstimulating environments. So it sounds like noise is your kryptonite, Athena. Mona says people's emotions, so you're a sensing or a feeling person. Same with Sarah. Who have we got? Devi. Smell, sound, touch, sight, so all the things. Yeah. Yep. Sound for Caitlin, Craig, other people's energy and environments. Courtney's family member emotions, sound. Kirsty's legs are tingling listening to me. So that would be somatic or feeling, sensory feeling. Somatic is the scientific term. Feeling for Fiona. Yeah, right. Cool. So we've got it mostly feeling and mostly sound. Isn't that interesting? Which is appropriate given that that's my wheelhouse as well. I'm deeply, deeply empathic, but I use sound to heal. Touch as well. Yeah, cool. All right. So how does it affect you? Now, we know that the highly sensitive person, we know that we have greater emotional responses. We know that we have greater ability to mirror other people's experience. We know that we have high sensitivity. What we also know is that highly sensitive people are really susceptible to rejection. They're rejection sensitive. Okay. Rejection sensitive dysphoria, thank you to my partner for alerting me to that term, is a common thing. I've since researched that because it's very common with ADHD. Touch, taste, sight, smell, sound. We know that we're sensitive to those, but there's usually one or two that you're particularly sensitive to. That's your kryptonite, the thing that takes you down when you're out and about, right? And you're like, oh my God, suddenly the anxiety rises, or, you get this overwhelming wave of, stuff, and you're like, whoa, what just happened? I'm super dizzy. This happened to me on the weekend. My partner and I were walking through a fair. It was an expo. And I was doing well. I was having a great time. It was awesome. There was enough space, it was outside. But I walked into a tent, a woodworking tent, and suddenly I was surrounded by people in a closed environment, and I am so sensitive that I suddenly become super dizzy. My stomach lurched, and I went, oh my God, I've got to get out now. I've got to leave now. I need to get out. And I walked out, and I went all woozy in the head, and he's like, oh my God, what happened? And I'm like, nothing happened. It's just I was in a closed space, and everybody's energy was focused in on this tent, and it was too much. It was too much. So I had to go and sit and ground and, have some sugar and do all of these sorts of things to bring myself back into rightful space. So, common manifestations of oversensitivity or hypersensitivity: anxiety, depression, pain, fatigue, overwhelm, meltdowns, and the list goes on. Over time, this can be chronically compounded, and you start to generate dysfunction in your cells, otherwise known as disease or dis-ease. You are not sick necessarily, if we're talking about frequencies, okay? You're not sick. You're not broken. You're not damaged. You're not any of those things. You're not wrong. You're not too sensitive. You're not too much. You're not too harsh. You're not too soft. You are beautifully, irrevocably, sensitively awesome, differently wired. And when you can get into that, when you know that about yourself, you can start to work backwards through the dysfunction that has manifested in your cellular structure as a human. You can work backwards. You can untangle the frequency patterns that have become twisted and distorted and stuck and tangled inside your cells. And you can start to unravel, open up, let some of that straighten out. The dysfunction, the dysmorphia of your field rights itself. I can see it, right? So when I look at you, I can see tangles. I can see, it's like a ball of yarn that the cat got to. It's all over the place, right? But I have the capacity to pull one of those threads, the one that reaches right to the center of who you are. Pull that thread and gently unravel everything in a way that allows the light in. I don't heal you, you heal you. Yeah? But I just move things aside so that you can receive the healing, so that you can activate who you are, your innate healing capacities, and shine your way through your own dysfunction with a bit of help, a bit of guidance, a bit of mentoring. All right. So who here has anxiety, depression, pain? I call them the big four, okay? Anxiety, depression, pain, and fatigue. Yes, Mona, I'm so sorry. I laugh only because I can relate. I'm with you. I spent decades in agony, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually sometimes, in agony. It is hard to be a highly sensitive person in this world because we are surrounded by insensitive people a lot of the time. And if COVID taught us nothing else, it taught us, number one, we need to look after ourselves better than we ever have in our whole lives. We need to figure our shit out because we're needed. Highly sensitive people are needed. You have talents. So, the kryptonite. Underpinning every single kryptonite issue that you have is too much stress. Write this down. Too much stress. So you're not too sensitive, too much, too little, too this, too that. But you are experiencing too much stress for your unique composition. Bottom line. Stress toxicity. That is the big kryptonite. When you can solve your stress problems, enormous change can happen very, very quickly. And when I say quickly, it depends on everybody. My path in life is to always heal more, travel deeper, go into the quantum spaces and untangle the subtleties of the universe, okay? So not everybody's built that way. That's my way. But, I will keep going. That's my quest. Everyone has the capacity to heal their stress load. It could take 3 months if you've already been on this journey for a while. It could take 3 years if you're anything like me. So far, 3 decades. And I'm okay with that. Because we do have time. If we don't get it right this life, we just come back. Okay. So, the beautiful thing about your kryptonite is it is also your key to your healing capacity. It is your key to your gift. The reason you were born on Earth now is highlighted by your kryptonite. If you have a hypersensitivity to sound, guess what? You're probably a creative. You're probably a musician. You're probably soothed by the sounds of birds. You're probably in tune with the frequencies of the earth. You probably can hear messages from spirit. You probably have the ability to hear the nuances in the cry of a baby and know what it means. Beautiful. Feel somatic. I used to be a massage therapist, right? So I honed my tactile, my sensory, sense of feel quite a while ago. I can detect subtleties in temperature change. People who are somatic usually end up as body workers, or they might do something with their hands. They might be creative as well. Do something with clay, So can you see that your kryptonite can be your cure? If you are tactile, you need touch. COVID really did a number on those of us with the need for tactile input, right? We couldn't hug anyone. Our serotonin levels were just bottomed out and our oxytocin was non-existent. If you're one of these people and you don't have access to others, you need to get really comfy and familiar with your own self, your own vehicle, your own body. Do this. Reacquaint yourself with yourself. Hi, body. I missed you. Talk to your body as if it's your best friend. All right. So I have so much to say. I could talk for hours on any one of these little tiny details. So I'm just going to keep flipping through my notes to make sure I'm getting all of it. Okay, I don't want you to miss out on anything that I've got to say here today because it's exciting. It's exciting. I'm excited. Even when somebody comes to me and they say, oh my God, I've got so much pain, I get excited because it means that they're in a state of healing because they've become aware of their physical reality and they've gone, I need to do something about this. They're ready. They're ready to activate their own intelligence, their own potential for healing. And if they're in pain, they're probably their kryptonite is probably touch, which means their key is that they're probably lacking in some kind of body-focused requirement. So your kryptonite is your key. Write that down too. My kryptonite is my key to my healing. All right. So before we keep going, oh no, I will talk about this. Okay, so I touched on it already. I have walked 3 paths simultaneously to get to you here today through all of these different tracks that allow me to talk to you about science, about sound or frequency, and about spirituality. I was a multidimensional person from a very early age. As I said, I developed all these senses through my life experiences very, very quickly, very early. I walked 3 paths simultaneously in my early days. I was healing at my family's, natural therapy centre in Melbourne. I was doing meditations that were guided and channeled, as I said. I was doing healing. I trained as a healer early. I worked with Dr. Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden. Some of you may have heard of them. If you haven't, look them up. Oh my gosh. I worked with them and another guy called Dan Winter, who was a quantum physicist. I worked with them at 18 through to about 25 years old. So I was introduced to this stuff before it was common knowledge, before anybody knew about epigenetics and heart frequency and all of these things. So I was very blessed. I also met with a spiritual teacher called Credo Mutwa, who was a spiritual leader of the Zulu tribe. That's like sitting at the foot of Jesus, if you can imagine what that's like. He was just amazing. I used to have dreams that would tell me about wormholes and quantum physics and sacred geometry. So in spirit, I was already activated. Channeling from a very early age. I had a surgeon. You can read about this, chapter 7 of the book, right? I won't go into it now. I also was a musician, so I studied music. I'm studying harp. I was an artist. I used to paint. I still do. I love ceramics. It's just my favorite thing of all time. And I also worked in creative industry. So I worked in television and the entertainment industry. So John Cleese, very intuitive man. Here's the story. I think we're in Sydney, and I was doing a conference with him. And we spotted each other. And you know how you, as a sensory person, you magnetize to people? You'll be like, oh my God, I know you, right? You feel that connection. That happened very unexpectedly with John, because I'd worked with lots of different people, many of them divas and not very nice to hang out with. But we kind of gravitated together, and we got talking, and it turns out he told me, I went into his suite, I was doing a rehearsal with him, and I noticed a picture of his Tibetan Rinpoche on his Tibetan master on his table. I'm like, oh, Rinpoche, oh wow, and I can't remember the name of that particular man. At the time I knew. And he lit up like a Christmas tree. And we got talking about Buddhism and meditation and these sorts of things. And for the rest of the tour, he would invite me into his room at lunchtime, and we would meditate together, which was beautiful. What an amazingly highly sensitive freaking genius is he. We picked each other. Yeah? Just for the record, he has a bachelor degree in science and a bachelor degree in law, and is a highly creative person and highly sensitive and spiritual. So some of us walk multiple paths. Okay, so creative is the first path, spiritual. Second path, creative. Third path, medical or health. Okay, so I've walked all 3. Which one did you walk to get to here now, to this moment that brought you here to this session? What over your life have you walked? Do you have knowledge about? Because your career or your family or your lifestyle took you down that particular path. Tash says creative and spiritual. How beautiful. Dan Winter is amazing. Oh my gosh, you know him? I can't believe it. Have you been to something of his? Yeah, I did an experiment with him in the Blue Mountains before heart resonance was known about. He hooked me up to electrodes because I had the ability to alter my emotional state at will and alter my spiritual frequencies. I could alter my brainwaves. And so he hooked me up, and we recorded the frequency of the heartbeat coming out on a very rudimentary computer with very rudimentary software. But he was able to show me that you can record the sound of the heartbeat, you can split that into frequencies, inner bandwidth. And what is so cool about this is that your particular heartbeat has its own signature of sound, like a fingerprint. Nobody else on the planet will ever, 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 ever have the same heart frequency signature as you. You are special, just like everybody else. Side note. Okay, so where was I? I got sidetracked. Spiritual and medical for Caitlin. Yeah, creative and spiritual for Tash. Who else have we got? Henriette, spiritual and creative. Kim, all of them. Yeah, Kim's a nurse. Kim and I met about, 3 years ago now. Kim did some work with me and suddenly had this epiphany that she was a highly sensitive person during our time together. Isn't this cool? So we all walk a path of highly sensitive person, but it is commonly one of those three, sometimes two or three, okay? But here's the funny thing. If you walk the health path or the medical path, either as a practitioner and or like me, a patient due to, disability or diffabilities that end up in chronicity, you end up with all these labels. Who's got a label? I'll give you all of mine. ASD or autism, ADHD, BPD, GAD, PTSD, hang on, I've forgotten one, EDS, there's a couple more. Do you know when somebody sticks a label on me, I'm like, bring it, let me just crush that for you. You think I've got this disorder? Watch me. I'm going to fix it. But it's my opportunity to learn. So I have vast amounts of knowledge about all of these kind of disorders stored in my very, very hypersensitive and autistic brain who loves patterns and connections and hyper-focusing in on research. GAD, Generalized Anxiety Disorder. Fee had creative, health, spiritual, and intuitive. Yeah. Well, intuitive is part of the spiritual. So I'd say you had all three like me, Fiona. Fia's worked with me too because of that reason. Okay, so the labels. In the medical terms, we say somebody who is autistic is disabled or has a disorder. I'm going to swear. Swear warning. Fuck that. Sorry. Not sorry. I'm autistic. My children are autistic. We are what some would call highly functioning, because highly functioning just means you have a certain intellect above, I think it's 72, okay? So it doesn't mean that you don't have moments of low function. You still have low function days. You still have meltdown. You still have sensory overwhelm. You still have, anxiety if you go into a crowded room. That doesn't mean I'm broken or disabled. Exactly. It just means that I have this composition that doesn't respond well to a neurotypical world. So guess what? Anybody who is highly sensitive, anybody who is autistic, ADHD, Asperger's, or whatever you want to call it, EDS, they all fall under the same spectrum of species. And I'm going to use that word. It's not accurate in terms of science, but this is what I believe, based on research and intuition and downloads from spirit. We, with all these different labels, including HSP, highly sensitive person, are on a spectrum, if you like, but I like to see us as a different species or an evolution of species called neurodivergent. Who's heard that term before? Put your hands up or hearts and likes if you've heard neurodivergent or neurodiversity as a term. So neurodiversity was originally coined about 50 years ago. I'm ADHD, so my frontal cortex sometimes shuts down for memory, so I can't remember her name. But she wanted to point out that we as humans are all diverse in our neurology. So you may like to ditch, and I've done this, ditch your labels, even the highly sensitive one, even though it's good to start with. And I want to tell you that labels are helpful in the first instance, because when you're seeking to understand yourself, you need a category. You need to make sense of your humanness. before you can make sense of your spiritualness, your creativeness. So it's okay if you've got labels, that's okay. It's part of the healing process. It's part of the self-discovery process, is identifying with something. As a human, we're allowed to identify. We're supposed to identify. We're differentiated for a reason. Our differences allow learning, growth, and understanding to take place. If, I use God, the universe, spirit interchangeably. We are God force incarnate in all of our spectrum of differences so that we can be realized as God or the universe within ourselves and then return to the universe. That's the process. So labels are fine. Do not discount somebody when they say, I'm autistic. Accept that that's where they're at and they need to have that label for their own well-being. For many, many reasons. Some of them are physical, they need extra help. Some of them are mental, they need extra help. Some of them are emotional, I feel like I belong. When I got my label of autistic ADHD, I was relieved. Because there was still a human part of me that didn't understand why I was so different. Because I've been working in the health field, right? Why am I so different? Why am I my holistic nurse and not a nurse that works in a hospital injecting things or taking things out? Why am I not that? Why don't I fit in my industry? Because I'm not designed to, because I was designed to break the industry, to wake the industry. It's a very scary place to be. Until I realized that I am neurodivergent. Then suddenly, so many of my physical anomalies made sense. I have a lot of physical anomalies. I have musculoskeletal dysfunction. I have fibromyalgia. It just helps to quantify where a person is at in their healing trajectory. Okay, that's all. And it connects you to your people. You are all here because you identify with the label of warriors of light. And you're on my call because you identify with the label of highly sensitive person. Yay. It's perfect. All right, but labels are just a way for you to find your people and then let them go. You are part of a species called neurodivergent. How awesome. And then we have the neurotypicals. How awesome. We each bring something to the table. My occupational therapist is neurotypical. He's fascinated by the species of neurodivergence. He can't get enough. He's like, what do you mean? He sent me a text message the other day and said, Christy, you are an enigma and a mystery. I'm like, yep, bring it. All right. I believe we are, neurodivergents are an evolution of species. Now, here's the spiritual. As we go through the photon belt, who's aware that we're going through a photon belt right now? That's what's happening. Our planet is shifting into the middle of the whole big photon belt, the Pleiades galaxy, the system, okay? Actually, in one of the things that I was in, somebody just posted something about that. It's really interesting. As we move through the photon belt, humans are subjected to huge quantities of frequencies of light and sound that we have never, ever, 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 ever experienced ever before. A lot of evers. We are at such a unique point in history, a convergence point, a nexus point. And each one of us is a nexus point within ourselves that has the ability to cast off negativity and embrace and embody the light through our neurodivergent sensitivities and kryptonites. So if you can imagine a neurodivergent person, I wanted to talk about why the increase in diagnoses, okay, of all these syndromes. The reason is because what happens when a species goes through a photon belt is that light codes hit our physiology, our genes, and they activate dormant gene expression. They switch off some genes, it switches on some genes, and all of a sudden you've got an entire group of people who are waking up, and they're scared initially because they don't understand why suddenly they can hear things that weren't there before. They can see things that don't make sense. The reality is shaken. You can imagine that a person who has just woken was like a lump of coal deep in the earth. And the amount of pressure that the earth had put on that lump of coal had gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. The heat had gotten stronger and stronger and stronger. And then they transmuted into a diamond. We, as neurodivergent people, are the diamonds, the multifaceted, multidimensional diamonds that humanity needs. Because when we activate our gifts, we bring a unique frequency, a unique signature through our heart to the planet. And the planet needs that. There are no disabilities. I mean, okay, that's a broad statement. There are disabilities, okay? There are people who are intellectually disabled. They don't have intellect that they can use, but they are brilliantly geared, diversely wired to bring the people around them to their knees in love and humbleness and gratitude. That is their gift. Just because they don't have intellectual capacity doesn't mean they're not gifted. Physical disability. My son has a physical disability. He experiences pain and fatigue. His musculoskeletal system is mutated. He doesn't produce collagen the right way, or the same way as everybody else, I should say, which means he has to access different parts of his composition as a human in order to function. And because of that, he's freaking innovative. Oh my gosh, innovative. He's going to change the world. Every single one of us is going to change the world if we can activate and then optimize our gifts. So I had a client, beautiful lady whose son is intellectually disabled, and I watched them on a Zoom call. He was so sweet. He's like 18. And she's talking, and she was, trying to absorb what I was saying, and I could feel the stress in her body, and she was pretty tired and really struggling. And just out of the blue, he's got his headphones on. He comes up, and he just hugs her. And I felt the love. We were in different states. He melted everyone on that call. The love emanating from this kid was just pure as. We're all gifted. I have a 12-year-old client who has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, same as my son. She has musculoskeletal anomalies and pain and fatigue, and she has autism, and she is phenomenal. I was talking to her. She's saying, I've got this pain in my side. She's 12. It's below my liver, right where the ileocecal valve is. I'm like, what? In my head, I'm going, what? How do you know what the ileocecal valve is? I know what it is, but I'm a 48-year-old ex-nurse. Blows my mind. She wants to be a cardiac surgeon because she innately understands that the heart is the central core of any human being, and it is the gateway to healing, to spirit, to soul, to the universe, to the knowledge. She already has the knowledge. She's downloading it like this. It's crazy. All right. So, gosh, running out of time. How are you all going? How's this sitting with you? How is this sitting with you? It's a lot, right? But is it landing? Is it landing? I'm going to go back through comments while you're writing. How's it all going? Henriette says it was too stressful to be labelled. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Don't label. It doesn't make you who you are. It just gives you a definition if you need it. Yeah? But if you don't want to be trapped in a definition, you don't have to be. Sarah has ASD. Cool. Michelle has a heart. Sarah, yes, great. Going great. Thanks. Will we have access to the recording? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot in it. It's good to play back. The video will always be in the Warriors of Light Summit group. You always have access to that as long as you're in the group. If you registered to do my Zoom call, I will be sending out an audio recording, the whole recording for you to keep. Okay? Which brings me to my offer. I'll talk about this while we're talking, okay? And then I'll talk about how I can help you. All right. So I have a special offer for those who registered in advance. They already know about this offer. Essentially, it is a 3-hour package of spending time with me, either on Zoom or remotely by phone or in person if you are able to make it to where I am in the world. Usually the package is about $750 worth of goodness. Today it's $500. So what's in that? We're going to do a 30-minute me map. I talked about that. That's our sacred geometric holistic model for where you're at. It also helps you define your hidden kryptonite, the one that you're not aware of that's driving you and causing problems. And it identifies the biggest area that you need to work on in order to get to leverage the greatest amount of healing as fast as possible. Okay, so you get that. A reading, channeled energy, intuitive reading. I will have a look at what's going on with you. I will have a look mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I get messages from my team, my spirit team, my guides and galactics. So I will use tarot. I've got some amazing oracle decks right now. And then there's a 90-minute frequency fusion session where I will bring in Amara, who I talk about in my chapter of the book. Amara is I'm not going to give the secret away. See if you can figure it out. Who is Amara? When you read the end of the chapter, who do you think Amara is? Anyway, Amara is going to be present with me. Amara is an Andromedan light being, and she's been educating me on proper use of frequency for quite some time. And she comes in with giggles and bubbles, which is why I laugh a lot when I'm training, because when I channel, I giggle and I laugh because that's her energy coming through. I'm speaking to you as Christy right now, but during a frequency fusion session, Amara will come through and she will do the work. She guides me, she instructs me. We work together to feed frequency into your body, identify where the blocks, the congestions are, untangle them, and the frequency that comes back informs the next frequency that goes in, okay? So the sound wave travels from you back to me, vibrates my vocal cords, and then I refeed or biofeed another harmonic frequency wave back into you. We do. So I also use my crystal bowls, and I've got some other chakra bowls and beautiful tones and things. So we fuse all of that together. If you're lucky enough to be with me in person, I also do subtle energy body shifting on body as well, because I can do that as a massage therapist. Okay. So that package, with GST, $550, 3 hours, worth $750. There are only 6. There are only 6. Hang on one sec. I'm going to post the link while I think of it. Otherwise, I'll forget. One moment while I copy. Don't go away, because I'm going to give you another little gift at the end when we get to the very end. So stick around, because I'm not quite finished. There's the link in the Zoom. Wonder if I can just drop it into the chats. Yes, I can. Freaking love it. Love it when the tech works. Okay, there's the frequency fusion package. Okay, cool. Now, how do we help a highly sensitive person? This is what we want to know, right? I've given you some really good clues already. Your kryptonite is the way. You need to lower your stress load in every way possible. But that's just the start. There are 3 things you need. You need support, you need skills to manage your stress, anxiety, depression, etc. Those things that have accumulated over time because you might not have gotten, clear on everything yet. No shame in that. We all come to this at different places, and you're exactly in the right place at the right time. Self-discovery and soul discovery is super key. If you are only using mind and body to come to a place of healing, you are going to take a long time, okay? We're here to do all 3. So I do this through a number of different ways. I have a model called the ACT process, which I teach in my Activate Your Potential program. The ACT process stands for A, awareness, C, connect to your core and calm, and then T is tools for transformation. And obviously, as I said, I've got a ton of tools, 3 decades of tools, and that's only the human ones. It's also a lot of galactic ones. All of my processes come direct from spirit. So I've been educated on technologies since I was 18, as I said. And then what I did was go and learn about human science so that I could reverse engineer what I was being taught, what I was being told, what I was seeing with science, so that I could bring you both. Okay? And Tash says only the human ones, yeah. Tash has experienced Amara firsthand. It was pretty epic. All right, so that's the first thing, the ACT process. You need to learn that. And there are nuances to that. Second thing is you need to heal your energetic congestion, meaning get to the bottom of some of the original events that created the trauma that lives inside your cells. And I use the term trauma loosely. But as a sensory person, highly sensory affected person, we're also very sensitive to everything, which means that we collect a lot of trauma. Just a small thing like a crash of a cymbal at an inopportune time that jars your entire nervous system can stick. A little girl who gets yelled at for pulling the eye off her teddy at 3 years old, if she's highly sensitive, that's going to stick. So we go back through some of your actual human residual traumas. We don't have to go to them all. This is a mistake people make. You do not need to solve all your traumas. That is a mistake. A happy mistake, because everything is for learning, but it's inefficient. You don't need to do that. That's why classic psychology is taking so long. You do not have to talk through everything that happened to you in order to heal it. We reach a tipping point. You only need, as I said, you need to pull the one piece of string that connects to your core trauma, your core original event. And that might be human this lifetime, or it might be somewhere else. It might be in another reality. I don't believe in past lives. I believe in interdimensional lives, okay? We're all here simultaneously in all dimensions. So we might need to pull the thread from another timeline, another dimensional space, in order to unravel the core, okay? But you don't need to do that. A really serious case in the past, I've had clients, really serious disabilities and serious traumas. I don't do that kind of work anymore because as an empath, that was extremely draining. I did that for a lot of years, about 10 years, and this is one of the reasons I let go of my nursing registration. I wanted to do more of the joyful stuff. But we can joyfully untangle some things, right? We bring joy to all of the experiences now with healing because it is always positive. But a bad case, or a difficult case, should I say, a really congested case, would take maybe 6 sessions. I have had people have massive shifts in 1 to 2. 3 is an average. We can do a lot with 3. A lot. Okay. Especially though, you need the skills as well, right? So I teach you skills to manage your stress and anxiety and depression and pain and fatigue. And we incorporate frequency devices or assistive technology too if you need it. Because I don't want people to come to me to solve their problems. Going right back to what I said at the start, you are your own best healer. You can learn to know yourself better than any doctor, any nurse, any practitioner. You, when you have the skills to decompress your stress load, will know which practitioner to go to and when to get the best results. Right? It's innate intelligence. Okay. So that's the other thing, healing energetic congestion to activate your gifts, right? Lower the stress. Learn how to manage your stress in daily life. Learn how to implement frequency technologies to assist that process. Then have some sessions. You might decide to work with the me map. So looking at the me map gives you a snapshot of where you're at every single day. The 12-year-old I just talked to you about, she does this creatively every single day. She draws her flower, the flower of life. She draws the flower. She paints in where she's at in each of the 6 domains of the me map as a tracking device. Because with ADHD and autism, it's very hard to track past and very hard to project future because we're now focused. We're now focused. That's the other cool thing about highly sensitive people. We are literally wired to be in the now. That's where our potency lives. All right, and the fourth thing that you need is a mentor, a guide, a coach, the support. We are not islands, we are hyper interconnected. Our energy fields, as I talked about, extend about 3 to 6 feet from your body, depending on how developed your energy field is. I have techniques now where my physical energy field will extend a very far way. You know, I've always needed a lot of space. I've always had a big energy heart signature. It's always been quite pronounced. I need a lot of space sometimes to just be in my own heart field. But I have a capacity to extend my energy around the globe, which is pretty fun. So when you have a mentor, a guide, and a coach, and I do, Tash is my coach. Everybody needs somebody. You all need somebody. It doesn't have to be a professional coach, but you need somebody. All right? Somebody who reflects the goodness that you are, reflects the potential that you are, reflects that, you know, the truth of who you are, which is divinely inspired and highly sensitive. All right, to activate your potential and then optimize. So I have a coach to optimize my potential because I've already activated my gifts. I know what they are. I'm very proficient at them. So what do you need? What do you need the most? Support? Skills for stress load and anxiety and depression, it's pain, fatigue, etc. Support, skills, or self and soul discovery. Which of those three do you need most? Just pop it in the chat while I go back and have a look. Okay. Tash says, father-in-law introduced you to Dan Winter. That's cool. Alison, wake up the industry. Veronica, hello, darling. Debbie, it's making sense. Heather, yes, it's wonderful. So many light bulb moments today. That's cool. Carlos, great, accurate concepts. Cool, thank you. What else? Caitlin. Okay, Heather needs mostly self and soul discovery. That's my favorite. Michelle needs support. Henrietta needs support and guidance. Cool. Athena, a mentor and support to find your tribe. Yay. Well, there's plenty of us in here, Athena, all the people who are watching today. We're all part of the same frequency signature, right? We're all part of the same archetype of the highly sensitive person. So automatically, you know, here I am, this is where I belong, these people are my people. So, all right, so I've already mentioned the special offer. If you want to experience a little bit of all the things I do, you can get that through the package. Click the link, book it now if you want to grab one of those. But I want to thank you all because you stayed to the end. I'm so grateful. Hello, Scott. Hi, Scotty. I'm glad you're there. I didn't see you before. Self and soul discovery and support. Caitlin needs support for self-discovery. Amazing. Mona, guidance and support. All right, cool. So you stayed to the end. I am so grateful, so grateful. But wait, there's more. It's not a set of free steak knives. I'm going to give you all a gift, okay? I love the Me Map so much. It is such a powerful model. It was downloaded from Spirit. I spent 3 years developing it after that, and then another 10 really nailing what it really means and how it really works on the deeper levels. I'm going to gift you a half-hour session for being on the call today. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm dropping in the link for that. We're going to go through the Me Map. We're going to narrow in on your best pathway for holistic healing to discover the area you need to work on immediately, as I said, to activate your potential. What do you need to deal with now? What is calling you? If it's pain, if it's fatigue, you know, what is it? Is it your emotions? We will highlight what that is. We're also going to uncover the hidden kryptonite that's holding you back from your superpowers. It's probably not going to be what you think. So there's the link for that one. Feel free to book. The faster you book, the faster you get to see me. I homeschool my daughter, and I obviously work online as well. So I've only opened my books for this today. Usually my books are full for 3 months in advance, at least. If you're interested in being with the tribe, you know, we can talk about alternatives for that. So at the end of that me map session, I'll give you a pathway. Now, you know, being a nurse, it was drummed into me that if you can't help someone, you refer. So I need you to know that if I can't help you, I will refer you to somebody who can. Okay? Because I don't care whether you work with me or whether you work with somebody else who's more suited to you. Okay? So together, we'll do the me map, we'll see where you're at, bit of a snapshot, lay out a plan, look at your goals and intentions, and set you on the right path. That might be doing some work with me, and it might be referring you on to somebody else. Here's the link for the Facebook group. Did it work? Did it work? Can somebody just tell me if that link works? Hopefully it's there. So if you're new to my work, this is a really good opportunity for you to have a little session. And I can't wait to meet you face to face or phone to phone. Sometimes I do face to face, sometimes I do just phone. It depends on what I feel is going to work best with the client. So sometimes if you are too visual, I might suggest that we use the phone so that we can feel our way forward. If you're a sensory, auditory person, you might need the extra facial stuff so that you can keep the volume down. So I will decide whether or not you need phone or Zoom when we get closer to that. Yes, it opened. Thanks, Caitlin. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so I'd love to finish with your biggest takeaway. What was the best thing about this talk? What really hit home for you? What was it that you just went, oh my gosh? Oh. I'd love to finish off with that. What is it that really, your biggest takeaway from today that lit you up? And then we'll go about our business. Thank you. You're welcome. You're so welcome. I'm so grateful to all of you. I really am. I love doing sessions like this. I love teaching. I love interacting. I love the workshoppingness of these kinds of sessions. The beautiful thing is when we're all together like a group, our energies boost, right? So even just being on this session today, you have absorbed more light than you did before. And your energy is embedded and grown. You've got more strength than you did before you started. Who's feeling elevated? Who feels better? Hearts and likes if you feel better. All right. So, I can't quite see your, Frances, that you're not alone. Yay! You are not alone. There's lots of us, 35% by last estimation in the metadata. Okay, Sarah, that you have a purpose, a powerful purpose. Absolutely. All of it lit you up, Mona. Yay! Athena, that my kryptonite holds the key that you can find your tribe. Absolutely. Harry, hello, Harry. So lovely to see you. Yes, the video will be in the Facebook group, and if you've registered, I will send that out. Caitlin says that you're not broken, that the industry needs breaking. It does, and that's, I believe, what COVID's all about. It's crushing the system, you know, cracking it wide open so that we can rebuild from the inside out. Devi loved that the labels are really the superpowers. Exactly. It's a clue. It's a clue to what's going on. Courtney discovered another one of her kryptonites, fatigue. Exactly. Henriette, felt ready to be labeled HSP and now to be able to let it go. Full circle. Carlos, reframing ADHD. Beautiful. Heather, the idea that our kryptonite is in fact possibly where our paths are leading us. It is exactly. That's exactly right. Kim's takeaway. GAD, PTSD, chronic pain, etc. all fall under HSP. And HSP falls under what? All together now. Neurodivergent. Oh, Harry, thank you for my wonderful and loving leadership. Thank you for being here in order for me to do this. Thank you. All right, I'm going to finish off with the bowl. You are welcome to stay and listen if you need to get off. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really loved having you on here. If you want to know more about me, go to christyleerackham.com. My new website is freaking awesome. It literally just went live yesterday. I love it. Wings Marketing, WINGZ marketing. If you need a website, phenomenal. Also neurodivergent. Yay. All right, here goes the bowl. Okay. I will announce the winner of the signed book pack in the Warriors of Light group after this. I've got to download all the names who registered and draw one out of a hat. So I'll be back in the group later. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a beautiful day.